And we're on Jazz Street with Rochester jazz legend Fred Costello. Fred, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's great being here.
And love talking to you about Rochester jazz history because you've been such a major part of it for the past 45 plus years. First and foremost, let's talk about Doug Duke and the impact and legacy that he has on this area.
Doug was a phenomenal organist, very underrated. And I had the pleasure of being a real good friend of his. And back in the 60s, late 60s, and 70s, we did a series of Battle of the Organs. Doug and myself on organs, Steve Gadd on drums. And that we did it twice at his club. Doug Duke's, a couple in Ben's Cafe and a couple of Val's Lounge, and we just packed the place. It was fun.
We're speaking with We're speaking with Fred Costello here on Jazz 90.1. Fred, give us some of the areas or some of the clubs that you played in back in the 60s and early 70s here in Rochester.
Well, the first club I played was Val's Lounge. I went in for 6 weeks. I just come from the Bahamas, going to have a baby, and then moved back to California. Well, I went in for 6 weeks and stayed 3.5 years. And I still was going to go back to California, and picked up the paper one morning and saw that the new general manager of the Red Wings was a friend of mine. Called him and said, hey, Don, what would you think about having music at the ballpark? He says, great. That's in 77. Wow. He gave me a 1-year contract, and I'm in my 38th year. They said, keep doing it until I get it right.
Still going to go to California?
Now I just visit.
We're speaking with Fred Costello here on Jazz 90.1. Why is the organ such an important part of jazz, do you think?
It has such a unique sound, and I think the organ is the one instrument, or one of the instruments, I should say, that you get the right rhythm section, what we call playing in the pocket, where just everybody kind of taps their toe and just feel that groove, and it evolves from that old Chitlin circuit, with Jimmy McGriff and Jack McDuff and Don Patterson, Jimmy Smith, and that was a great.
Now, Fred, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Syracuse. Spent a lot of time there. Then when I was about 18 years old or so, I decided to go on the road. I enrolled in SU, and I dropped out immediately, went on the road for 11 years, and spent the next 11 years working out mainly in the West Coast and Midwest. I think I did 43 states in those 11 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff talking with Fred Costello here on Jazz 90.1. So for an up-and-comer, who should they start listening to if they want to learn how to play the organ? Who would you recommend for them to check out?
Well, there's so many great organists out there, Joey DeFrancisco, of course, and listen to some of the old records with like Jack McDuff and Jim McGriff and Don Patterson, all those guys just play with the right groove. But I would also say you got to listen to other instruments too, because that will help you to form your own style. This way you're not going to be playing the same as all the guys play who are on record, So that's what I did. I listened to a lot of different instruments.
We're speaking with Fred Costello, organist of the Rochester Red Wings, as well as Rochester jazz legend. Fred, again, thank you so much for all your work in taking jazz further, especially here in Rochester.
Well, it was my pleasure to be here. We'll see you in the clubs and at the ballpark.
All right.